London, Stratford, Stonehenge.
Oh, Cliff, you mustn't ever ask.
And how are the auditions going?
I think
Good.
they're going
Yeah,
well.
yeah. We're about 3/4 of the way through, so you know we're tired, and I'm sure they are too. But we've got a lot more singing and dancing to do still. But we're getting there.
I'm a carpenter and a father, and I have no spare time. I used to like playing video games and watching movies. I forget how to do both.
Stay-at-home mom. I have 5 kids. They're 7, 6, 5, 5, and 3. And this is my outlet to not be that.
I took a few years of the acting program here at Keyano. Only the 2 years, because that's all that we had at the time. And since then, I've just been continuing going to school and been working mostly. But every opportunity that I could take, I would just leap into the theater.
Started school here for 2 years, back in 2011. And yeah, I did a few shows here. I worked backstage on a couple as well. So yeah, I've been pretty actively involved in Keyano. So
I'm a dental hygienist and I lifeguard. That's my full-time job, I guess. I like to rock climb. I pole dance. I do a lot of pole fitness, not so much the stripping kind.
Hi, my name's Brody. I'm doing good film right now.
It's definitely an interesting town. It's not what you expect when you hear all the stories. I did engineering, and specifically chemical engineering, and the joke about chemical engineering is that you will end up in Alberta. And so there's a lot of people who have come up here for co-op jobs, and they come back and tell all these horror stories, which after I came up, none of them were true. And it's a really cool town. There's a lot of people who are just excited to get out and do things. Someone told me before I moved up here that there's not a lot to do, so there's always something going on. Someone's always hosting a party or saying, let's go for a bike ride, let's go for floating on the river, let's go try doing this, that, or the other thing. So there's a lot of interesting people to meet, a lot of cool things to do. It's a really cool town.
I'm from Stellarton, Nova Scotia.
Perfect. Describe Fort McMurray in your own words.
Shangri-La.
Fort McMurray is truly a land of opportunity. You're not going to get so many easy passes into so many doors. And it is a beautiful landscape. I mean, I love my dog, Paisley, and I take her walking every single day. And we're always finding new places to walk along the riverside, in the woods. I mean, it's a really lovely community full of really amazing people.
My name is Steph and I'm the resident stage manager at Keyano Theatre Company in Fort McMurray, Alberta. There was a guy named Nick who was my mentor in high school, and he taught me, him and his wife Stacy essentially taught me everything I know about theatre before I went off to school. So they had kind of sent me off to school a little bit, and I went to school, and then they moved to Fort McMurray because he was offered the job as the production manager here. So when he got the job as the production manager, I was like, oh yeah, you're gonna get me stage managing there, hey, and ha ha ha, and he's like, oh yeah, we can do that. And so he contacted me to come up to Fort McMurray for 2 shows. Chicago and the Farnsworth Invention. And so it was a 5-month contract. I was going to come, do 2 shows, and then go back to Montreal and continue to live my life in Montreal. Well, I was like, I'd say 6 weeks into my contract here, and they said, hey, do you want to come be our resident stage manager? And I said, and I kind of weighed the options, you know, because what was happening in Montreal is that I was working as an assistant a lot, and I was having to go out of town for work and stuff because there wasn't quite enough work. And here I knew that there would be a lot of work all the time. So, and I get to stage manage, and I stage manage some big things. And also my goal when I went to school was to work in the community after. So it was like kind of a perfect deal.
It took us a while to settle on the musical because we we've done 2 very large-scale musicals over the last 2 years, and it's hard to maintain that level of excitement and that stuff. So this was the year where we sort of changed our focus a little bit. And we chose, after looking through a whole bunch of options, we chose Christmas Carol to be our community piece because it worked well for the timing. And in that sense, the musical needed to sort of balance out the season. We opened with a comedy with Norm Foster's on a first-night basis, so that was our professional show. Christmas Carol, great family show, community involvement. Now we needed something that had a little bit more drama to it. And we've been sort of sitting on Cabaret for about the last 2 or 3 years. It keeps coming up, and this was the right year to do it because it just fits in. It's a great musical, it's popular, people know it. But it has a little bit of a darker theme to it, a little bit of a darker story to it. And yet it'll still challenge, like there's some really good roles in it that are going to challenge those people that are cast in that show.
Theater is a passion thing. Theater is one of those things, they say that you catch the theater bug, and it's so true. Like you start doing theater and it's a safe environment to explore and be creative, and so many people everywhere, so many people don't have that chance. They work in jobs where they're either not pushed to be creative or they're not allowed to be creative, which is a sin. So they go to work all day in these jobs where it's like, nope, black and white, these are the rules, this is the way you have to do things. And we come in and we're like, this is all gray. This is all gray. Okay, yeah, there's a staircase there that you have to make sure you stay on. But other than that, like, let's play, let's do things, and let's find where it's gonna land. So I think lots of people, it's an escape. It's like, you know, you have your humdrum life, you have your job, and you have the things that you do every week, and the things that you know, your laundry and your food and whatever. But then you come into this room and we're just a little bit nutty, and we're just having a ton of fun, and we just laugh and play. There's a reason they're called plays. Like, we're just playing all the time. We're just having a great time. And I think that people don't really, and we work hard too, obviously. We work hard, but what people don't get is that it's a blast. And it's such an escape that people kind of go like, it's kind of addictive. Mm-hmm. It's like any of those things that are addicting, like that take you out of your life and into something else, it's like that. And so there are people who, if you talk to them, you'll say like, oh, so how many shows have you done with Keyano? And they say like I'll have people who have like 4 kids at home, and they're like working a job and trying to keep their home life balanced and stuff, but they're like, I have to do theater. Like, I have to do it. Like, I don't even, yeah. And it's the same as me. I have to do it.
What we're trying to do is just try to nurture and spark a talent, and we're trying to give them an opportunity to explore that. Because it's the best way to figure out that, oh, I don't know if I've ever been on stage, or what it'd be like on stage. We want to give them that opportunity to try it out. And then from that point, we can definitely steer them. Like if they say, you know what, this is sort of something that I can really get my teeth sink into and stuff, and then we can help them and go, you know what, there's other careers out there that you can lead to. And we've had this happen since I first came up here. We've had volunteers that go, oh, I realize I don't like acting, but who knew that there was a career in technical theater? So they go on and figure that out. Or who knew that there was a career in arts administration because they got involved in that, or theater management and assistant or stage management. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't realize that there's so much of a spin-off from just walking on that stage opens up so many different opportunities.
Hi Diana, it's Steph calling from Keyano Theatre Company.
Oh, hi Steph.
Hi. I'm just calling because we'd like to offer you the role of Sally in Cabaret.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Oh wow.
I'm 100% serious.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Video diary for the Cabaret documentary, November 29th. Hi everyone, so today is closing day for Christmas Carol, and then on Wednesday we start rehearsals for Cabaret. I'm super excited, the turnover is super quick, but it's really exciting, and I'm glad that I get to meet this whole new bunch of people to work with. Some people I've worked with before, some people not, and it's just going to be a crazy adventure after this crazy adventure that was Christmas Carol. So it's a little bit sad to be finishing one show, but it's always really exciting to go into a new project. So I'm on my way to close Christmas Carol.
Look around and say, breathe right there, okay? Take lots of air in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Money, 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 get a little, get a little, get a little, get a little, money, 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 money.
So by the end of this, we call it the vocal residency. By the end of the vocal residency, they will know all the songs, and we will have sung through the show several times, so that when we come back in January, the hope is we arrive, we do a first read through / sing through, and they are able to sing through the whole show. They'll obviously need some brush up work because they'll have been gone for Christmas, but the hope is when Paul arrives, they can sing through the whole show, and so he can start.
I feel like when I was here a few years ago, they still had the theater program going, and unfortunately that was shut down, which is very sad, but that's another story for another time. Yeah, I feel like there was a lot more people who were just kind of making that their main focus. Right now, I find that most of the people are coming from all different walks of life, and they're just like wanting to be involved, and they love to sing, or they want to be on stage, or something they've never tried. And it's really exciting because then you can see all these little lights turn on and people become these characters. Besides, I've only got one. Besides, I've only got one narrow bed. Right up here.
Okay.
So just think, I feel like you're lifting the whole time.
All right.
Okay, here we go. And 1.
Where from?
Sorry, besides.
Besides.
Here we go. And 1.
Besides, I've only got one narrow bed. My eyebrows are so high. Paul, the director, I didn't sign up to audition for Cabaret. This is a little history of me in Cabaret. I rented the movie in junior high to watch it, and I remember being very disappointed at the end. I thought there'd be so very many more boobs than what there were, and maybe that forever colored me. But even when I was a little, like I took theater in university, and I was a backstage guy. I had no use for actors, but they of course at the theater parties they'd be very musical and very loud, as I'm sure you've seen people get. And whenever Cabaret came up, I honestly was never a fan. So when Cabaret was coming here, I didn't jump at the chance to really do it. But talking to Paul, he convinced me to come down.
Truly remarkable girl in this really incredible town, and she skillfully managed to talk her way into
Music is kind of a thing where you just kind of got to throw them into it, and they just got to do it right. So they get very comfortable very quickly, and once they have the music down, I find that they're able to do everything else a lot easier because they're that much more confident with the singing, which not a lot of them have a big, strong background in, so it kind of gives them a confidence boost to do everything else.
It's gotta happen, happen sometime. Maybe this time, maybe this time I'll win.
I've always been musical, I guess. Like growing up, we always had music around us. I've been a musician, and I've been playing since grade 6. And before then, we were always singing in the house. And I did a little bit of lessons with my sister when I was really, really young, but we never really stuck with it. And like we always had music playing in the house. And I don't know, we're just very musical, and because I have 2 other sisters, we always sort of, that was something we just liked to do together, was harmonize and sing and just have fun with it.
It's like The Sound of Music,
yeah.
what is the
The
Von Trapp family?
Kids. Yes, love that movie. Really. Yeah, so it was part of my life, and I got involved a lot with it.
So where did you grow up?
2 parts. So I'm Canadian. I was born in Toronto, and then we lived sort of around Toronto and north of Toronto for a while. But then when I was 9, we actually moved down to the U.S., and so I ended up living in Georgia, southeast Georgia, until I was 16, and then we moved back to Ontario, but then we moved to Hamilton, west of Toronto, and from there, I was there until I ended up moving here 3 years ago. So.
My wife, Heidi, asked me about this at some point in the last few days.
Yeah, where are you going at nights?
No, well, like I say, I've only been down here for the one time. But so they're all bonding and they're all getting together and having fun, and you're just kind of there. And I said, but that's kind of good, because that's Cliff. Like you say, he shows up, there's this tight-knit cabaret group, all kind of good, all kind of together, all having fun, and he's just on the outside going, you guys are nuts. So I come down here, and actually after that 45 minutes, I stayed and watched them sing a song together as a group, and I was sitting there watching it, I'm thinking, these guys are nuts. So it's going to work out quite well.
No one else has seen this yet, correct?
A couple of, the theater staff, a couple of us have seen it, but the actors haven't seen it yet.
And what are we looking at right now?
We're looking at, there's several different names for it. In French, we call it a maquette. So this is the model of the set for Keyano's Cabaret.
Nice. What is the main location that we're looking at right now? Like, what is the main set piece right
now? So we have, this is our regular stage floor that will be painted to look like these slats of wood. And then we have this other little stage here that will be the cabaret stage. Then we have an upper level that will act as acting space for like Fräulein Kost's apartment and stuff like that up here too. And then we have another upper platform they can go across here. Also, this window flies out to reveal the band, which will be back here.
Okay, and there's portions of this play that take place on a train, as well as inside of an apartment.
Yeah.
How are you guys going to pull that off?
So that is there's a variety of ways. So we have this door unit that tracks back and forth, and in front of the doors can be pulled curtains. So that will be a tinsel curtain, a red velour curtain, a mirror wall, and a cabaret curtain for the different locations in the cabaret. The doors themselves will act as Fräulein Schneider's room, Cliff's room, Herr Schultz's room. And when we're in the rooms, these boxes are suitcases and trunks, and they will get put together in a variety of different ways to become the different areas.
Oh, that model is 40 hours of my life. The inspiration for this show comes from many places. Like, this show's been done thousands and thousands of times. And so there's a bit of a expectation or a precedent set with a lot of that. So I want to acknowledge a bit of that without copying everybody else.
I'm the next guy in line. They hand the shows over to me, and then from that point forward, anything that is a technical requirement or has anything to do with it, I work with, from finding designers and directors till we put the last piece of scenery away at the end of the show. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting kind of position that we're in, because on the technical side, it's done by basically from top to bottom. It's professional staff who take care of all the technical requirements. So when it comes time to finding designers and directors and stuff like that, we typically have a lineup of people who want to work with us, because it's a very cool atmosphere. We get to play with the community and support them with professional abilities, which is not standard in a community theater. So in terms of getting Fort McMurray out there, it's interesting to hear people talk about, coming up to Fort McMurray to do some of the most fun shows that they get to do. Typically, you'd hear that kind of thing about Calgary or Edmonton.
I'd always had a passing interest in architecture as a kid growing up. And then I got swallowed up in theater in high school, so I really got into it in a big way, but through the performing end of it, which I think is how most people sort of come into theater at that stage. Like we see people performing and we think, oh, and so we go trying doing that. And by getting into that, you start looking at, you start realizing there's an entire universe of really interesting things to get involved with beyond acting and being on stage. And with this interest in theater that I had, this interest in architecture, I started looking at design, and I had auditioned for one show. This was way back in my community theater days. I auditioned for a show and I didn't get it, but I knew the director was looking for a designer, and I said, oh, I'll give it a try. I'd never done it before. And she said, okay. So I went. It was sort of successful, and that led to another opportunity in community theater, and it led to me going to university to do some theater, and I ended up sort of focusing more on technical theater and design in that world. And then I got out of university and went up to, which was in Lethbridge, and then I went up to Edmonton and started getting involved with theater companies up there, and I just continued on with design work.
My high school drama teacher. We'll go back a few years. I didn't know what I was going to do when I left high school, so she pointed me at the Red Deer College, had a technical program. That's where I was born and raised, and I was like, well, yeah, sure, why not? I'd been doing a lot of the technical related stuff through my high school career, so I just kind of went to college and jumped on board and never looked back. Just turned into a job that I followed for 20 years now.
And a large part of the inspiration for the show came out of discussions with the director, who was really interested in highlighting the decay and the seediness of the world at the time of 1930s Berlin, which was this unbelievably decadent, hedonistic, awful, sort of sexual, depraved world. I had no idea.
I look at it from character first, and try to figure out what I believe each of those characters is trying to tell us about that as a concept. And then I looked at what Nazi Germany was at that time, and what it would have been like to live in that, in relation to how I think these actors lived through that. And then I find images that speak to me that way. So, in this case, this is the front of that, the shape of that front is the opening to the death camp, Birkenau, Auschwitz and Birkenau, or to the big concentration camps. So this whole show about trying to find happiness in a time of chaos is sitting on the front steps of where they all left to die. And that's an image to me that 90% of the audience won't necessarily get, unless they look into it a little bit more, but lives in the spirit of what we're doing as artists and what we're trying to communicate.
So you have to imagine that these are quite dirtied up. You're bruised, right? You've taken some life. So they won't look quite so clean as sort of the cuts that we're seeing here. The hair, because we're looking for skanky. This is just hoary. I want skanky hole.
I have been here since 2012.
Wow, okay. And before that, were you still here, or did you move to the city?
I graduated university in 2011, June 2011, and then I was out of school for about 6 months, and then they hired me here. So I've basically been here, and then the one summer I worked at New West in Lethbridge, and then the past 2 summers I've been working in Drumheller at the Passion Play. So I'm head of wardrobe, and then I'm a technician, and then I'm the designer on this one, but it's usually just the two. Mm-hmm. But I do some sound stuff, some tearing down of sets, that sort of thing. Anywhere they need me. I'd almost say it's about 50-50, but almost more with the actors, because they come in for measurements first, and then they come in for multiple fittings. And then I'm with them backstage throughout the whole tech run, and then the whole run of the show. Mm-hmm. And I only see the production side during meetings or if I have a question or whatever. So it's almost 60-40.
Yeah. Do you draw on the production team as a resource? Say, for example, all the sizing and stuff. Is that something that you go to the actors for, or do you rely on the team for that to get you those measurements?
It's me and Steph, basically.
Okay.
So she'll set up times that they can come in and get their measurements, and just between her and I, that we work that out. So.
But we will have 1 flyman, 2 running crew, 2 assistant stage managers, 3 follow spot operators, 1 flyman, I think I said that, and 2 dressers.
Okay, you, a couple of the actors were just here a moment ago kind of trying to get a peek of the set. Why didn't you want to show it to them?
It's purely selfish. I do not want to have to sit here and answer a bunch of questions that I'm just going to answer in January anyway.
How has it been dealing with the actors now that we're getting close to the end of the singing rehearsals?
Yesterday was a bit trying because they had been away from each other for about 5 days, and they were super annoying. So they all arrive at like 2 minutes to 6, and they're like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in like 5 days. What happened? Ah! And then they're all talking about the Christmas party they're gonna have at the end of rehearsal tomorrow, and they're all talking about the Christmas party they're gonna have after Christmas, and they're all talking about New Year's and what they're gonna do, and they're talking about coming to rehearsal in the second. So it was really hard to like grab their attention and be like, hey, we need to work now, because they've already been singing the songs for 2 weeks, so they're a little bit like they know the work has to be done, and they're really great, but at the same time they're like, oh, we've sang through this a million times, I really need to talk to you.
To be honest, I'm always amazed that we're friends. I don't mean it like that. I think the world of Steph. I always have from the first time I met her. But because she's a wrangler, she was always very businesslike, and I always was like, oh, no, she's just business, Steph. I like Steph, but okay. And then once in a while, she's like, oh, Zenon, yay, we're friends. I'm like, oh, good. Right? Makes me very happy.
How are you finding the musical rehearsals so far?
Very enjoyable. There's a lot of people in the show who I've worked with before, so working with them, it's kind of like putting on a glove. It's like, oh, I'm in a comfortable environment again. And then there are, of course, a few new people I haven't worked with before, and so far they've all brought this wonderful energy to rehearsals that I'm just really, really enjoying.
Yeah, I think everyone's getting along pretty well. Everything's sounding pretty good. I mean, we haven't had any major mishaps. Hillary hasn't had to throw pencils at us yet. That's a thing she does, so watch out for her. Yeah, she was the music director for Chicago too, so yeah.
Has her method changed, or is she the same Hillary?
She's the same Hillary. So, but I don't know, maybe we're just doing better because she hasn't had to throw things at us yet, but I'm sure that'll come.
Do you know many of the people that are involved in the production?
No, not really. Like I've seen, like Leah, like outside of this, but that's pretty much it. Like I haven't really, I've seen, there's some familiar faces from when I've actually gone to other musical plays that I've recognized people in from plays that I've watched, but nobody that I know personally, so.
In regards to your role, was it your first choice, or?
Yes, it was.
Oh, right on.
And it was like funny because I was like, what are the chances that they're gonna like cast me for Rosie, because my name's Rosina, and sure enough I got it, so that was pretty exciting.
So I mean, are you happy with the role you've been cast in?
Yes, because it's exactly what I wanted, because that's what I tried out for. I want to like do all the dancing and the singing and kind of be in the background and have like responsibility, but not really responsibility. Like I want to like feel the experience without like a ton of pressure, just because I've never done it before. So I felt like what I tried out for is what I got, and I could not be happier. Like, love it.
Where do you guys think you are right now?
I think we're pretty much exactly where we should be. Compared with other musicals, yeah, we're pretty consistent, pretty steady on. It seems like it's coming up super fast that we have a sing-through this week, but I think we'll be okay. We're not ready for a sing-through now, but we will be by the time it gets here.
Brenda, det är ton tjejstrid.
house.
Every first rehearsal or that first couple of days of rehearsal, you've been planning in your head for, up to a year and you've had about maybe 20 minutes with all of the actors that you've cast thinking, that one's going to be fine for that. That's all I've got. And then I don't see them for months. And then all of it comes into a crashing day where we all go, okay, let's see if we can piece this thing together. So the puzzle pieces that we've been putting together starts to happen on that first day with, did I cast right? Am I going to be okay? How much work do I have ahead of me? Because with each one of those components comes more work or less work, or, that's what you find out.
What I'll add to this is that there is no just read in my world. Here's the scoop. So we have to rough block this tomorrow and Wednesday. Then following that, we're going to rough block transitions from pieces and dance and song into those scenes. We'll have a chance to do that that'll take 2 weeks to get through that. So by the time we get to about halfway through this process, we will have done everything once. Then we get a chance to maybe do it another 2 times before we're into tech. Just because of the amount of work that has to be done in terms of the song, dances, and all of that. So it is crucial that when we go from one rehearsal to the next, that you come back prepared with what you had completed in the last one.
I know Paul through doing some shows with him. I did bowling with him, and I'm also a member of Fight Directing Canada, which is this organization which comes together once a year that does like a 2-week, 3-week intensive program, which basically teaches you the skills for doing stage and theater, stage and film fighting at a safe and professional level. So that's how I know him. He threw me a big bone by giving me the fights for this. So he's one of the few fight masters in Canada, right? So like this is really up his alley. So the fact that he was kind enough to give me, like, who is just an intermediate at the fight directing level, a bone, which was just very nice of him. So I give him mad props. It's been a friend opened my eyes up to it, and it was a passion. So like it came out of nowhere. I've always been very physical, and that's how I find a lot of my characters research, through acting, through my physicality. So having this background in fighting has been actually quite wonderful, and it's helped me a lot grow as an actor and all that shit. Yeah.
Now really bring it to me to the posture, called the posture position. So really bring it in. So we have nice lines. Yeah. It's almost like you're making a table right here. So you want to have the table high enough. Don't have it down here. Then we have feet all over the place. Yeah.
My name is Kim Hurley, and I am the choreographer for Cabaret. This is my third production with Keyano. I've done 2 other priors with them in the last 6 years. I guess I just approach it with more of a theatrical performance side of it, right? So I really like when the students forget about the steps and then they just become the characters, and then that way the playfulness and the maturity kind of comes when primarily my dancers, the ones that are quite older, when they're just focusing on their steps, it doesn't turn it into anything that's, production, worthy. So that's where we try to start first. And then it's almost the opposite with the cast members that aren't dancers. I try to make sure they understand the movement style because they already know how to act and bring all that maturity with it, right? Yeah. So
in any theater, doesn't matter the size, the management of the resources that you have, how you do that in the time frame that you have is whether or not you're successful. So a theater this side could do the biggest show in the universe ever done on the planet with time and the resources. So with a theater like Keyano, when you think about the scope and scale of their productions, where they are in that this is a community environment and not always a professional environment in terms of the resources. It does an amazing amount of work. There's professional companies that don't do anywhere near that amount of detail, but they also don't have Fort McMurray, right? So there's an ability to do things in this community because of the financial resources. And because the theater is in a place that they can go out and get the resources that they need to get it as close to, hot and fantastic as they possibly can.
Yes, yes, I like where that's going. How does it feel?
Sad.
Yeah.
I know.
It's true.
Besides, I've only got one narrow bed.
We'll think of something.
So you see, everyone in Berlin has a perfectly marvelous roommate. Some people have two people.
I find it thrilling. Being in a school, the family stays because we have like the performers at our school. That we are always, everybody auditions. Everyone that's in our group of performers auditions, and we usually get in. So we're always working with each other. So I have like the two type of families. I have like the family that stays the same, but we always change roles. And then I have like a Keyano family, and that's something that a lot of my school performers don't understand, because I feel like a professional, right? Instead of like a high school kid doing a performance, I feel like I'm a professional with adults, because I am a professional with adults.
Because you have community actors that are equally talented than people that have been working for 20 years in the profession. Talent is talent is talent. The difference between a professional talent and an amateur talent is the ability to transform in a quicker manner. They have a better body memory. They have a better memory, they have a better vocal memory, emotional memory, so that once you can give direction, you don't generally have to go back. You just go, okay, this is what we're going to be doing with that scene, and then every time that it comes back, that's there. In an amateur situation, the actor or the singer can take that in, they can find it and go, oh, okay, that's where it is. But then when you add another element to it, it kind of shakes and gets weak again, and they have to sort of force their way back to go, oh yeah, right, I can remember that. So it's just experience and body memory, really. That is I would say is the biggest difference, really.
I have a lot of stuff going on, and this, which I love. So I have a lot of things going on. Yesterday they criticized my hair and my outfit a little bit when we were dancing, and I was like, I was just in swim club with 5 kids for 2 hours at the Mac Island pool. I saw Brody. I can't be here 20 minutes later with I got a bun in my hair. So I'm a little bit worried. I'm not worried. I don't worry very much. I just want it to all flow without having people struggle.
Yeah. What I always tell actors is if you're asked by a director to do something that you're not comfortable with, all you need to do is go, can you show me? I just need you to show me how to do it, and I'll totally do it.
He will though. That's the
Yeah, don't ask me. But that's another thing.
Anyway, I gave you a character scene breakdown. You can throw that one away because I gave you a new one today, and it will just be an ever-changing document. But that is where we're starting today.
Is there a way for them to know, because they're going to receive documents like that, which is the most updated
Yes,
one?
it always says revised and the date it was revised on.
Look at that.
Well, Paul kind of tells me what he wants to accomplish in X amount of time. So he'll say, I want to accomplish scenes 1 through 5 on this day and 5 through whatever on this day. And then I want to be able to do a run of this at this time, And so I go in and I make the schedule according to that. Because our choreographer is only available on certain days, I have to juggle when she's available and then when she's able to teach her dance captain numbers that she can get him to teach. So it's kind of I knew I know what scenes we need to do, and I know what dances need choreography, and I know that that Hillary would love to see every single actor for vocal at any time possible. So pretty much I put in what the priority is, and the priority is right now is to get all the choreography done. And then, so we put in all the choreography, then I layer in the blocking, and then I layer in singing on top of that for whoever's not in those 2 rehearsals.
We have a whole chunk of time, rehearsal time together for the first time. So we will sit down and watch the pieces that I've created and kind of pick them apart and find a special, movement quality for those that need it. It may be talking to an individual dancer or cast member and saying, this is specifically what you're going to do in this section. Or it may be a group of people. Hey, all the girls that are main characters, this is what, Paul would like you guys to do, and I'll guide them through that, how to get there in the movement style of it, and he'll guide them through the acting part.
I kind of feel like, well, for me, I feel like the movement has probably changed more than the voice, because I'm not that great of a singer. But I think that we were probably, I can't find the right word, but I feel like in the same way that we were dancing it, we were probably singing it lighter. And I know that like Hillary was always like, be like raw and be like, wah. But I just feel like we weren't maybe really doing that. Mm-hmm. And I think that in particular for the dances, because we learned them so like bossy and jazzy, then when Paul came, it got really dark for a good way, but everything else was kind of a little bit more light and airy, and he really wanted it like dark and raw.
There is no real game plan, because working on a Paul Keyano show, you have to be very flexible, because he likes to change things all the time. He's never cemented in what he likes, right? So I have to make sure that I'm not in such a solid mind space that I'm cemented to what I want to do. Like, I have to be very loosey-goosey, and plus he's a fight master, right? So he's going to be like, well, that was shit. I want you to fix that. And you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. All right.
It's always going to reblock, but way better if you do it cleanly rather than fast and aggressive. So every hit you do, make sure you have that time to make it read, find your position. Let's go.
I know you need some money, so there must be something. Oh, it's because of that Jew. It's a party. Oh, shucks.
I think we do have a lot of artists here. We do have a lot of people that enjoy the theater. I think with anything, you can talk to anybody who has a hobby that's something they enjoy. You're going to commit. It is very high. The commitment is very high, but I think at the end of the day, the performers, most of them veterans here, when they reach the final product, they know what it feels like, and they want more of it. So being able to have an opportunity in community theater to do that, I think is amazing. I think they'll eat that up. So giving up all of their time for free to do all of these things and being gung-ho about it is something that is,
You'll even notice with the shows that they pick for Keyano, it's usually always more of a female heavy cast, or at least balanced. Mm-hmm. There's definitely more women interested in the arts than men. However, the men that are coming out are so passionate and so excited, and I feel like there's a little bit of a ripple effect. Les Mis was really awesome for that because it got such a huge whack of males up on stage, which was great, and I hope And I do feel like they got the bug a little bit, you know? Like even in Cabaret, sometimes you'll find that like men will audition and everybody will get cast in a show simply because not enough men come out. But I know that there's some really talented guys who auditioned for this show who didn't make it into the final production. So I do feel like we're at a shift. We're definitely at a shift right now. That's the biggest thing I can say about like the theater scene in Fort McMurray, Keyano Theatre and otherwise, is that something's stirring.
So when you're asked to come in the theater, we'll all go and sit in the house, what we call the house, which is the theater seating where the audience sits. So we'll all sit there, and Eugene, who, Trevor's our production manager, but Eugene is the technical director for the building. And Trevor's on a weird schedule. He works 10 on, 4 off, so he's gone. So on Sunday, Eugene will be giving us our tour of the set. We call this our safety walk. So he'll give you all the, like, what to do in case of a fire alarm, what to do in case of an emergency. He'll show you the set and its little particularities, because there's always particularities about each set. So he'll say like, look, there's this thing right here. Watch out, don't bang your head. And you go, oh, thanks, Eugene.
If I can get you to come down a little bit lower, Sam. Yeah, can you lean in the other way? Like lean in so your head is towards the center. We're gonna go from we'll think of something.
Yeah, so we'll go from the end of Perfectly Marvelous. So, Hillary, you ready? Okay, whenever you're ready. Think of something.
Black.
So you see?
She's with Diana and John, so.
Yeah. Wait, John's here.
Sorry, John, Fly John.
Oh.
How many rehearsals you guys got left?
We have, today we have the afternoon and we have a run in the evening, Tuesday run in the evening, Wednesday run in the evening, Thursday's preview. This is the early night, yeah. I encourage you, if you can, to just come a little bit early to get yourself into it. Yeah.
Okay, so for if there are costumes in our dressing rooms, are we to wait until she says put them on?
There's
or do we
there will be a sheet in each dressing room telling you what you're wearing when. And so if it's in your dressing room, you should be able to check your sheet, what it says, and then you should be able to wear it, yes.
But we're saying that when they're introduced for welcome in, their spikes are two pieces together, so which is why they're not hitting the spikes. The chairs in my hair, they're not hitting their spikes, most of them. But that's not as important as yeah, it's not like you can let the whole yeah, so as long as they're close to the spikes, then it's good. It's just
We are about 100 miles ahead of where we were.
Yeah.
Certainly. At this point in the process, you know, we've gotten all of the bits pretty much as solid as we can get them in terms of the level of performance, the level of singing, the level of dance.
Yeah.
Now it's are those pieces going to fit together the way we anticipated them?
Yeah.
So no, what's
happening in terms of the singing and the dancing and the acting. I think it's all moved up really substantially, actually, and the pieces that we've been trying to put together are coming together in ways that are very, very good and surprisingly kind of totally pro.
So, how does Q to Q affect that? I noticed there's there were certain things that you were expecting at the end of the scene, but now that the transitional lights are coming in, I've noticed a lot of adjustments, especially the other night. So, how is that affecting the way the story's flowing for you?
It's not for me in terms of the way the story's told, but it's changed a little bit how we're choosing to accent the story, right? And sort of certain visuals that I created in rehearsal, and then with the work that Roger's done on it, the lights and how the sound's coming together, you go, oh, that moment would be even better if we just did a little bit of this to it, and it would make it clearer, or it would make it or make it say something different,
Right.
No, that's great, you gotta use that. So there's always still discovery, of course, because now we're taking 6 creative elements, the design, the lights, the sets, the musicians, the technicians, and putting all those together. So when you put them together, new things are going to be discovered for sure.
Right.
If you don't discover new things in that, you're not doing your job. So that's definitely part of the process. And so, and if we've put those pieces. If we've built those pieces together in a way that we think fit, and they actually fit, then we've got a good show.
So how long does Q to Q usually go?
Well, we have tonight, so from when we get started, probably about 7 to 11 tonight, and then we have tomorrow, Saturday, from 9 to 6.
Yeah.
With a supper break, and that's when we would like to get it done by. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but I'm hopeful on this show that it will. And we do have some time on Sunday if we have to, but we'd prefer to use that to rehearse things that need work.
Going? How are we feeling tonight?
Excited.
Yeah?
Fantastic.
Are you guys still exhausted from last night?
Well, I had just had some espresso, so I'm feeling pretty...
Okay.
I had a Red Bull.
You've done Q to Q before, right?
Tons of times.
Have you?
Never.
Are you excited?
It's long.
Oh my
I
God.
have all my books. So I have a book of concentration camps and of Germany and Berlin. And I have my yoga mat, and everything in here is red. We'll turn on the lights.
I was gonna say, your room is really chill.
Yeah. It is. Haircut too. And it smells nice.
Oh, okay. Sorry. How'd you like your screenshot today on Facebook?
Oh my God, I look like this.
You-
I liked that I was on it. I'm like, yeah, I got a picture on there. It looked like I made really bad sentence.
No.
It was good.
It's almost showtime.
Welcome.
I called it perfectly.
Mhm,
And that never happens because I've never called it before.
Right, right.
So like I've had the cues in my book since like 2 days ago.
Right.
But I've never actually spoken it out loud to a crew.
How many cues are in that first number?
In Welcome Back?
Yeah.
I'll make it sometime. We'll see the whole thing. There's 33 lighting cues to get us out of it. There's like 5 or 6 spot cues. There's 1 set cue, and there's 4 fly cues, and there's 2 sound cues.
Has Paul challenged you as an actor?
I would say yes. There are certain things. I have a new mindset that I'll go into university, going to like the school performance this year, knowing there's like a certain way of acting that I've learned through Paul, because I've only ever worked with either at school with teachers, Claude Giroux or Jacqueline Russell, and all 3 of them have had way different ways of directing that I've enjoyed parts of and I've not enjoyed parts of, but they've all helped me.
Right.
Especially Paul and Jacqueline, because first off they're the most recent, but where Jacqueline was more of a, you know, like I'm like motherly, but also like stern. Paul will tear you down, but he will get good performances out of you.
It's been fun. Yeah, it's been really good. It's I like being able to experiment with like different roles and having that, like bringing that character and acting into it, because I love that side, but I find that I don't really get to have that opportunity as much, like in what I do with my regular activities. So it's definitely been a lot of fun.
Do you feel that there's any gap between now and opening of the show that needs to be closed in regards to the performance that you're giving, or do you feel that you're confident that this is what I'm going to go on opening night with?
I'm pretty confident, about like giving it all. I think it's just the nerves.
Yeah.
So like being able to still be able to bring what I want to bring without having the audience and the nerves and the like and being scared that I was really scared coming into this is singing in front of an
This character of Sally's, she's actually really complicated, and especially with the way that we're doing it in this show. So it's, we spent a lot of time the other week really sort of tapping into that, and so that I can be in that frame of mind and the journey of her throughout the whole show. So it's a lot of investment. It's a lot of emotional investment, because she's not just the sexy stuff. Like there's a lot of that performance aspect of her, but there's a lot of the really, really broken, sad parts of her too, which is sometimes hard. Sometimes that's harder to do than sexy stuff, because sexy is like, I'm just performing this and it's fine. It's not really me anyway, haha. But then to do the parts where it's not.
Come to the cabaret. Put down the knitting, the bookends, the broom. It's time for a holiday. Life is a cabaret. So come to the cabaret.
so ready. This is gonna be the best show ever.
When does the band show up?
The band show, well, they're supposed to show up at 6.
Are they here yet?
No, probably not.
Okay.
There might be someone up there. I don't know. It's 10 to. Sometimes people show up early. Usually they don't. Nope, no one's up there.
Well, this is common, right?
Yeah, it's not. Their call time is 6 o'clock, so it's 10 to 6 right now. So
Okay.
there's just some people who are super early because they want to come and they eat and they socialize and then
Right.
they go get ready. Or sometimes like Rosina, her hair takes forever, so she comes super early.
Right on.
Mhm.
You mentioned that Paul and Hillary are gone as of tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So is that a common occurrence for directors? They don't stay for the run?
That is the only occurrence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, the handoff is on you, hey?
Yeah, so directors, designers, and all directors and designers leave the show after opening night. So they're essentially just here to watch the show and kind of like revel in the work they've done. And so they're gone. Their contracts are over. So it's my job to keep up the artistic integrity of the show. If the directors were to stay on, then they could just kind of change things and tweak things through the run.
Right.
And it wouldn't be a consistent show. So then you'd be, you get to the point where you peak, right?
Yeah.
And you want your performance to stay there. You don't want it to because then once you've seen the performance a bunch of times, you're like, oh, okay, maybe I should do this. And it's like, oh, no, that doesn't really, but your head gets too much into it. So they leave. My job is just to keep it here.
Right.
Just to keep it. And if the actor is like, oh, well, like I want to try this thing. If it's within the confines of the artistic integrity of the show, then I will say, okay, sure. Or if something breaks and we don't if something breaks and we don't have the same thing to fix it with,
right,
then we just replace it with something that's close or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you holding there?
They're
Diplomas.
ego boosters. Everybody wrote something really nice about other people, and then I compiled them onto lists, so that way we're all like pumped and excited.
Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah. I didn't make you one. I feel bad now.
No, it's okay. It's not like I've been here the whole time.
You look hot.
Thank you.
Who's Jan?
Hello. You did?
It's just a drive-by.
You're my favorite person to interview.
Glad.
Are all the costumes ready? I see you're working on something right now.
Yeah, no, they're basically ready. It's just, I was watching the show last night and Zenon's pants were driving me crazy because, one pair was good. The second pair was, he was walking around in, a 70s, kind of, they were really long.
Yeah.
And another pair was, too short, so I'm just fixing little things like that.
The fight, Stan. The fight? Is Dwayne ready? Okay, you guys ready? Yep. Whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
It's because of that Jew, it's a party! Get it out of here!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, guys? That looks good. Okay, let's do Cost and Sally. Michelle's here. I need some Sally bowls. Look at all those.
Let's.
Words fail me when I try to explain my respect for Steph Link. Well, I want you to stage manage my life, please. I get that all the time. Anyways, yeah.
Oh, that was really nice. So that's the entire cast.
Most of them, I don't know. You were the best mama bird anyone could ever ask for.
Welcome to the cabaret. We kindly ask you to please turn off any cell phones and electronic devices during the production. A reminder that all food and drink is restricted to the lobby area only, and the use of recording devices and cameras of any kind is strictly prohibited. At this time, we'd like to acknowledge the Keyano Theatre and Arts Center volunteers for assisting in making today's presentation possible. Enjoy the show.
I like 3 and Dan. Go.
Willkommen beyond the new welcome. Brenda, it's all she's stranger. Le clip to see and just raise on chanter. Happy to see you, blind elasticity. Willkommen beyond the new welcome. Cabaret, cabaret, cabaret. Meine Damen und Herren, mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, guten Abend, bonsoir, please. Comment ça va, tout bien? Ich bin en Portrait, je suis votre compère. I am your host, Student and Willkommen beyond the new welcome in Cabaret, Cabaret, Cabaret. Leave your troubles outside. So life is disappointment. Things of drugs go around, go around, go around. Money makes of drugs go around. So that we can teach you out. Of me.
Sound go. Sound go. Sound go. Sound go. Alex go. Sound go. Alex and sound go. Sound go. Alex and sound go. Alexis spots. Go. Alex 216. Go. Spot 34. Go. Alex 217. Go. Fly go. And clapping. Go. Alex and sound go.
How's the journey been for you in regards to where you started with these actors before the new year and where they are now? Have there been any surprises in regards to the how people?
Paul is great. Sorry, I'm just feeding you.
Oh,
Sorry.
what did you say? What did you say?
Paul is great.
Paul's great.
Yeah.
that's the big change, that he was great and now he's even more great. So. No, yeah, there's been, total surprises. I mean, at the very beginning, most of them didn't even know how to breathe. So, and now they're like crazy, awesome, psychotic people on stage doing all this stuff and just singing their guts out and trying hard. So, yeah, total transformations. Yeah.
And how has it been like working with the band?
An experience, definitely. Every band I find is a little bit different. They all have their unique personalities, but yeah, it's been great. They've all come together and found a way to make the music sound really good and blend, and yeah, it's got a great energy.
One of the things that, Paul, when we spoke previously, you were talking about at the end, there's a bit of a shock value in the ending to how Cabaret ends, and there's this very uncomfortable silence that leads into kind of, this is the closing, and people are unsure whether or not they should be clapping. I guess during preview night, they didn't know whether or not they should be clapping, right? So to that end, like, the vision that you guys had, is that success to you guys? Is that like, yes, this is exactly how we wanted people to feel at the end?
Yeah.
The less they clap, the less. Yeah, it's the better.
I mean, if you can bring an audience, because you have to remember that as humans we're ritualistic, right? So like I do this, and we all respond to our environments the way that we think we should socially, right? And in theater, and musical theater especially, you just clap when you're supposed to clap, whether you feel that or not. And when you can do a piece where they actually lose that language and go, I think I'm supposed to.
I don't know how to
I don't want to clap. Then you've done your gig.
Well, I think they blew it out of the water. You know, I went into tonight a little bit jealous that I wasn't up there with them, but they totally rocked it. Right down from the crew, you could tell they were hitting all the right spots. They were all hitting the sounds on the orchestra. Everyone was just hitting their roles, and it was just wonderful to see.
People that come out to these shows really enjoy good theatre, and that was good theatre. It was the kind of show where you don't know whether to applaud at the end, especially with that ending. Now, I haven't seen Cabaret in over 20 years. Quite honestly, I can't remember the last ending I saw. I'm sure it wasn't that dramatic. But you almost feel guilty standing up and applauding something that, frankly, that dismal of an ending. I mean, it's a brilliant ending. It's just...
Speechless, really. Incredibly proud of Colin, particularly. Beautiful, heartbreaking performance as the MC. Diana, stunning as Sally Bowles, but the entire treatment just left me speechless at the end. It took us into that world, and a world that completely crumbled around everybody. So, Paul, again, a tremendous directing job. I don't know. The ending was incredibly powerful.
Well, I just want to say, as an observer watching you guys work, honestly, I've been inspired by you guys. So it's been a real pleasure watching you guys work. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks for taking the risk. Because of that show, it was risky in many levels. The physicality of it, the content in dealing with it. Some of it hit people very emotionally at home. The risk was with our Kit Kat girls, where they had to be probably bearing a little more than they first thought, even though on audition forms we said, are you comfortable with this? And to work through that process. And the thank you for the time commitment. What our volunteers and everyone does for those shows is absolutely amazing. 6 weeks of rehearsals, being put through vocal, dance, the blocking, then we throw them onto a stage where we shine lights in their eyes and add sound effects and demand extra pace and everything else like that. They do a remarkable job.
Well, it's a sense of like, there's one sense of relief, right? Because you're like, oh, we made it. Like, we did it. We got this from A to B and we did it. And we got all the actors through it without casualties and whatever. And then there's the sense of, I can't wait to sleep. And then there's the sense of like, wow, that was a really fun show and I'd really like to do that again. Because, not all shows are like the be all end all for me. Like, I prefer to do big musicals if I can. So sometimes when you finish a project, you're like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm good. Like, I don't need to continue on with this. And then sometimes when you finish a show, you're like, man, like, really wish we could have done that. We could have ran that for like another week or two. I think one of the actors actually said to me, she was like, I just want to run it once a week forever.
It's time to celebrate the volunteers, and this is everyone that's involved in the theater. It's our actors, it's our front of house staff, and we like to give them a party or an ability to cut loose, whether or not it's the staff making hamburgers for them, showing a movie, or some other activity and stuff. And I know that we have some very clever people right now planning a new activity for our upcoming one, which is kind of exciting. I'm not going to tell you what it is right now. We'll let them work through that. But it is celebrating the volunteerism.
Oh, I was challenged. Maybe not physically with the dancing and the choreo, and I think the audience was very relieved I wasn't part of that, whether they realize it or not. But I felt challenged in the role I had to do and what I had to bring out every night. It was odd. There was parts where I was backstage getting changed, and especially after Money. That number, I'd be getting ready to go on, and after a scene, and everybody was coming back dripping with sweat and panting, and just their makeup was running. They were obviously drained, and it took so much out of them, and I was just sitting in the room laughing at them.
Quite a lot of good feedback. We've had a few people who, there wasn't a lot of room for you either loved it or hated it kind of thing. It definitely challenged you. It didn't leave a lot of room on the table for you to have kind of soft feelings about anything, which was really the purpose behind it, in my opinion. So, I mean, the feedback from the majority of people, it was a great experience on the backstage side of things, from the acting side of things, and from a audience side of things, it seems like everybody really enjoyed the show. So,
with your level of involvement, I mean, did you attend any of the performances as just an audience member?
No, I wasn't able to, because I promptly, as soon as we got that show up, I was working on Goodnight Lady. So, and we're in the midst of that show now. So there's no time for this guy to rest.
So that was actually the next question is, so has there been any slowdown from the last show to this one?
Not at all. I, like I said, stepped right out of the week after the cabaret opens. All of the initial designs are due for the next show. So I was elbow deep into the next show within 48 hours opening that show.
I think I learn everything from every project that I go into. At least I try to. And every director is different. I mean, I've talked about that before, but working with Paul on this project has been kind of an eye-opener for me on another aspect of bringing life into our dances. So more acting, more quality time speaking. We've even added some breath and some talking in some of our pieces at the studio, which, you know, the kids are kind of looking at me like, we got to do what? And I, you know, go with it, let's try it. And it's becoming something that I think is going to put us above and beyond some of the other studios in Alberta, and something different for me to try. It's never been a place where dancers have been allowed to go, right? Speaking has always been taboo, like you're not allowed to do that. So when I've incorporated into their pieces, I think it's brought a lot more.
It can be a definite highlight of your year. Like it's a very rewarding experience when it's over, and when I wish that I could have seen it. Because you put so much work into it, and you want to see the finished product, but you can't, right? Because it doesn't work that way. We need a really big mirror out there.
Just an entire show with a mirror.
Yeah, we should do that next year. Tell Steph we need a big mirror in the next production. But once you decide to do it, you got to jump in with both feet. You can't be timid. You just got to give it all. And whatever you give it, it's going to give back to you, which is a really neat thing about the theater.
I hope that people see that we're not just a bunch of hippies sitting around in a room, like sharing our feelings and then like jumping on stage and being really self-indulgent and selfish. I hope that people who have the vision that arts shouldn't have funding from the government and stuff like that. I hope that they can see this documentary and realize that what we're doing is furthering our future as a country and furthering our future as a society. Because a society without that sense of play and that sense of joy and that sense of creativity is not a community I would want to be a part of. And I think most people would say, yep, no, it's not something I would want to be a part of either. Those are the same people who bring their kids to dance classes every week. And then they say that they need another hockey arena and not a theater. They're the same people who take their kids to piano lessons and then they go, no, we don't want big concerts to come here. We just want a hockey team. I find it really hard to believe that people don't understand what theater can do for their community, and I hope that theater people, that people who are involved in the arts, watch this documentary and realize that community theater isn't just a bunch of, it isn't just a bunch of like stay-at-home moms who are looking for a thrill. That we're actually like enriching people's lives, enlivening people's lives, and giving them life skills. Kim has said to me, one of her dancers in specific has come completely out of her shell and her dancing has improved immensely. Her attitude has improved immensely. She's a better form of herself. And I think that can be said about a lot of people. Someone like Adam, who played Ernst, 2 or 3 years ago when I met him, he barely could keep eye contact with me and he was super shy and whatever. Now he's like very outgoing. He's working at a job where he deals with customers. It's those kind of things that we're doing for people. Someone like Brody, who didn't really have a lot of direction in his life, found stage combat, and once he found stage combat, the acting training that he had received fell into place. It landed with him after he received that stage combat thing, and that could have never happened without Paul, first of all, but without Paul being like, you should try this out. And he was a community member, and he's an artist now. I see lots of actors who I've worked with in the past whose lives have changed because of Keyano Theatre, and for the better. No one's life has changed for the worse. Like, nothing we're doing is bad. Everything we're doing is good. So, like, I want people to see this documentary and realize, wow, like, community theater and theater in general is so good for a community and so good for the people in it. And I want everyone to know that joy and to know what that feels like.
Describe what community theater means to you.
Theater means a lot to me. I mean, it's a true opportunity to play and to express yourself, but it's also it's a voice. It's an avenue for artists of many different talents to come together and collaborate, and I think it's truly something magical.
Opportunity. I think opportunity for people with talent to be able to showcase their talent to an audience, whether they are Broadway worthy or not.
It's going to be really cliche, but family. You get really close to everybody.
A place where people who are attracted to this can come together, find community with each other, and be together with each other.
I would say family. I've made such a big family acting in all these KTC performances.
Theater to me is an outlet. It's an expression of self.
The opportunity to learn, the opportunity to grow, and the opportunity to affect your environment.
Engagement and discussion would be my 2 words.
All-encompassing. It's just, like, once you're immersed in it, that's all you want to do, right? It's just kind of everything, so.
It means family, home.
Cool. That's it for now.